What if I told you that a woman spent $8,000 on a bracelet that had nothing to do with the actual piece of jewelry? What do you think? Well, we're going to dive into this today in this episode, specifically with Stacey Brass-Russell. I am so excited to have Stacey on the show. Before I introduce Stacey, I'm Tracy Matthews. I'm the host of Creatives Rule the World, the podcast that you're watching here on YouTube. And I am a transformational business reinvention strategist, and I help founders step into their next level with businesses and lives that they love so that they're getting back into alignment with the work that they love to do, but also building a business around the life that they love. And my guest today is Stacey Brass-Russell. She is also a transformational life coach, and she supports coaches in helping them launch their businesses and get them off the ground. Now, Stacey is one of the experts in our Art of Reinvention program, and she came in to speak to my community about the 4 pillars of transformation in your offer. So whether you're selling jewelry, or you're selling coaching, or you're selling a service, or you're selling anything at all, people aren't actually buying what you're selling. They're buying the transformation of what you're selling. And we go deep into that today. So before I dive into this episode, I just want to remind you that if you want to be notified of other incredible episodes like this, make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and you click that little notification bell so that you're notified every time I launch a new episode. All right, let's dive into this incredible episode with Stacey Brass-Russell. Welcome back to Creatives Rule the World. I'm so excited to be here with my friend Stacey Brass-Russell. Stacey, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. We are going to be talking about developing or creating the transformation of your offer. So whether you're selling jewelry or a physical product, or you're a coach or a service provider, what most people don't get is that what people aren't buying, they're not necessarily buying your methodology. They're buying who they're becoming. And Stacey is an expert in this. And she just spoke in my Art of Reinvention program, and the students' minds were blown. So I wanted to have Stacey on the podcast to talk a little bit more about what this all means and all the things. Stacey, welcome.
Thank you, Tracy.
I'm excited to have you here. Should we tell them our backstory?
Yeah, of course we should. I feel like it's such an important part of who we are.
So when I moved to New York City, and Stacey, you can interrupt me when you want, I was teaching yoga, super into it, all the things. And I used to practice at a studio. I think even before I moved to New York, I was going to this studio when I would visit, called Laughing Lotus. And Stacey was one of the teachers there. She left Laughing Lotus, opened up her own yoga studio with some other yoga teachers called Yoga Maya. I started practicing there. And eventually down the road, Stacey reached out to me to have her wedding band designed by me with her mother's diamonds, correct? Are they
my grandmother's diamonds. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's just this fun full circle moment because we run into each other many years later at an event for Laura Belgray. And Stacey's like, "Oh my gosh, Tracy." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Stacey." And now like she's teaching in my program. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, and also just like that, our lives, like kind of, we both went on a different trajectory, and then like it felt very full circle that we sort of came back, and we both sort of talk about and teach on very similar things, which is the evolution and the kind of like the importance of allowing yourself to like, to do the reinvention and to do something new and to do something different. I think that's also because we're both creatives.
So Stacey, why don't you share a little bit of your backstory, which makes you fully suited to have this conversation today?
Yeah. So I started out as a performer, and I've been on Broadway. I've been in a couple of Broadway shows, and just was in show business for my whole life. So always really being in front of an audience of people. And it feels like it's in my DNA to have people have an experience, right? To sort of like use my talent, my gifts, whatever, to help other people to experience or feel something, right? I think that's like what, especially those of us who are stage performers, that's really what drives us. And then when I was, I was an actor my whole life. And so there were obviously times that I was not being paid to be an actor. And I didn't really love waiting tables. And so when I became a yoga teacher, originally it was because I thought, well, I'd much rather teach yoga, this thing that I fell in love with, that I personally love doing, as a way of making money. And so I started teaching yoga, and look, I mean, I think that like being in front of a classroom, holding that space for, an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever, I think you have to have a little entertainer in you to keep
Yes.
people, engaged. And so I became a pretty popular yoga teacher quickly. And I loved it. Like, I loved creating an experience, like the whole thing, with like the music and the lighting and the setting the tone and taking people on this like transformational journey, basically, just in the course of an hour or 90 minutes, and found a passion for doing that. And then also for taking this philosophy of experience being human and life, and relay it or convey it in a way that people could actually take it in and use it immediately, rather than like, thinking of yoga as something that like either just the physical or just reading about it in a book. And then from there, I owned a yoga studio, as we said. And then when I was turning 50, I didn't enjoy owning the yoga studio anymore with the business partners I had. And so I became a health and life coach, which felt like a very natural sort of evolution. But I had been training people to be yoga teachers for a very long time. And so I really had built over the course of 2 decades a sort of life of not only helping regular people experience some sort of personal growth and evolution and transformation, but I also was teaching other people how to do that too, how to be the teacher. And so when I became a health and life coach, my business took off pretty quickly. And all of these other people were coming to me and going, I don't understand how you have so many coaching clients, and they were asking me for help. And so I always say I kind of became an accidental business coach, because I realized that so many creatives and people that are passionate about the things like personal growth and inspiration and motivation and all of, and making lives better. I think that people that really love that and want to do it are also the people who are heart-centered, soulful, don't want to be salesy, and at the end of the day don't know how to get paid for what they do. And I feel like I kind of came from a whole life of that, a whole life of being an actor, then a yoga teacher. These are not professions that anyone associates with making bank unless you become like a famous actor.
Exactly.
Yeah, so here I am, like helping people that really want to just do the work that they want to do in the world and express themselves and use their passion and their gifts and their talent and what they love to do. I help them to actually do that.
So great. So I want to kind of start with this. What do you see some of the biggest mistakes people making when it comes to launching a product or launching their brand, when it comes to how they're selling the product?
I'm going to say that the number one biggest problem is thinking that what is making the product or the service or the program or whatever you want to call it the object, instead of making the client or the buyer or the customer the object. What I mean by that is like thinking that what you're selling is this thing that you've created and the tools and the sort of the structure of it and the sort of the what it is, right? That you're selling a program. And what you really are selling is the experience, the outcome, or the sort of the thing that the person who's on the other end is at the end of the day is going to feel, is going to receive, is going to experience. And so it's the mistake is not selling what the client ultimately is going to get at the on the other side. Instead, you think you're selling or trying to play up the value of the thing itself.
Okay, that's exactly where I thought you were going to go, which is amazing. So how do we communicate value? Because I think this is something people get stuck on a lot.
Yeah. Well, I think now I just want to say, like, in the current market, especially, and I don't know if you've seen this, but I see it. Like, I'm seeing a lot of people who are doing things in this sort of old school way.
Uh-huh.
They're not getting results right now with their launches or with their sales because they're doing this thing that is sort of right now. I'm just going to come out and say it. This could be really controversial, but I think it's a little outdated to try to create urgency and stack your offers with all kinds of like stuff and bonuses and this and that, and expect that that's what people are, it's going to make people buy.
That's a
Because right
very
now,
bro marketer thing. And also, it's like something that we had done for years in selling some of our programs. And we're like
yeah,
stripping all that away in the long run.
yeah,
Not that we're not going to have the bonuses. We'll probably just still give them the bonuses. It's not about that because
right.
it's
But
fun.
it's about recognizing that at the end of the day, like bonuses, another program, this thing that I have that I'm going to give you also for free. That's creating a mentality of that your offer itself or the thing itself is not going to get the person the outcome that they want. And right. And, but the reality is that it doesn't really matter how much stuff you have in your program or how many sessions or how many recordings or how much this or how much that, if what you're selling somebody is something that they really, really, really want and that they really desire. And what you're telling them is, yes, that's the outcome you're going to get. At the end of this, you're going to feel different. You're going to be different. You're going to be doing something different. And therefore you're going to have something different. And so, what we're really selling people, what's the most valuable thing to somebody is literally what's in it for me. Like, what am I going to get out of this?
Like, what is the transformation?
What is the transformation? Like, how am I going to be different? How is my life going to be different? How am I going to be different? How are you going to help me to make this change that I have to make in order to get a different outcome or in order to have a different experience? Right. And it doesn't mean that it has to be a pain point. Pain points are really just like a mirror image of desired outcomes, right? We can look at it either way. Someone may be having a struggle or a pain or a challenge and they really want to get a solution for it.
Mhm.
Or they have a vision or an idea of what they really want, what they want to be experiencing, what they want to be able to have, achieve, or whatever. Either way, what they need is for you to help them either solve that problem or get that outcome. And in order for them to solve the problem or get the outcome, they themselves are going to have to experience some sort of transformation. And what they're investing in is the idea that you and your service, your program are how they're going to get that, are that they're believing that you have the method that's finally going to work for them when nothing else has. And that's really what you're selling.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been working a lot on this, like since you taught in my program, and there are some jewelry designers in there because they're reinventing or upgrading their brands and developing stronger messaging and everything. And that's totally what the art of reinvention is about shifting, like using your experience and shifting that into the new direction that you're going in. Now, one of the things that I've been really focused on is like showing the jewelry makers in that program, and also through my tool Desire AI, how do you communicate that transformation for someone with a physical product? Because the thing that I see when people are messaging and they're trying to sell their jewelry is like they're talking too much about the jewelry. Like if you want to sell jewelry, stop talking about the jewelry. Start talking about what it is that they truly want. And so I use the example of like, a lot of people say, oh, well, people want to feel something, right? And I've been teaching this for years, but the market is so sophisticated now. Like people aren't in the same spot, right? So if they want to feel confident at work, that's a great emotion that they want to feel. But is it that they just want to feel confident at work, or is it that they want to be seen in the boardroom because of the hard work that they put in, and they're in a room with like 6 other men and she's the only woman, right? And she wants to be the person who gets acknowledged for her hard work or for what she brings to the table instead of shrinking in the corner, right? And so it's a very different form of messaging. And most people like really get blocked on how do you communicate that. So,
well, that also involves really knowing who your ideal client is too, right? I mean, so it's kind of like, I mean, it's niche. And and I teach niche not only as who your ideal client is, I teach niche as like this whole holistic view of like not only who your ideal client is, but who you are and what is behind the brand, right? Like what is the like people are not just buying the product, they're also buying who they're buying it from. Especially nowadays, people care so much about the values and about the backstory and about like who they're buying from. And that's transformational as well, because that creates a connection, right? Like what we're talking about here is emotional. What we're talking about here is helping people to go from the intellectual decision making to the emotional decision making. Because I'll just out myself right now,
Yeah,
okay? Like
do it.
one of
Out
the
yourself.
first things, one of the first like things that I, well, not one of the first things, but something I wanted really badly was this Cartier Trinity bangle bracelet, right? Like one of the my husband, the first fine jewelry thing he ever bought me when we were dating was for our first Christmas together. He bought me a Cartier necklace. It was like the most mind-blowing thing. No man had ever bought me like a jewelry of that level. And I love my necklace so much. And then I knew that Cartier made this like bangle bracelet that's the Trinity, and I wanted that. And a few years ago, I made a decision. I put it on my vision board and I said, when I reach X amount of revenue level in my business, or when I make this much, I'm going to buy myself that bracelet. And this was even like, it was kind of on the heels of the pandemic. And so we had to make an appointment at the Cartier mansion, you know, and I went for my appointment. And a little part of me was like, oh my God, like they're going to think I'm not that big of a deal. I'm just buying an $8,000 bracelet, right? I was like, I was already feeling like, but for me, getting that bracelet felt like it was such a big deal. Like it symbolized so much. Like it made me feel so many things. Like it made me feel like a badass. And I was like, I want to wear, and I wear this bracelet. Like, I mean, the only time I don't wear it is when I'm at home on Zoom, because it's a little annoying because it's my same hand as my mouse.
Yeah.
But I wear that bracelet. And the thing is that if you said to me, do you want to buy an $8,000 bracelet? I'd probably be like, that's crazy. But I bought the bracelet not because of the price tag, but because of like the emotional connection that I had to wanting that bracelet, right? And so I think that it's really, really important for everyone to remember that, like, if you keep people in the intellectual outgoing brain, and what you're selling them is an object or something, and you're saying, and this is how much it costs. Oh, I'm going to work with you for 3 months and we have 12 sessions, and you can text me and I'm going to give you worksheets and trackers, or there's 5 videos that go with this and it's $10,000. All you're doing is keeping somebody in their outgoing brain, and they're going, wait a minute, like 10,000 divided by 3 months divided by this many sessions. Really? I'm paying you $1,000 an hour, right? That's what you're doing. But as soon as you connect somebody to the emotional outcome that they're going,
right?
the transformation that they want and that they're going to get, and how you're going to help them, to be honest with you, the number now has a completely different meaning to them. The
So
value.
what did buying that Cartier bracelet symbolize to you? Was it that you'd made it, or you'd hit, was it just like acknowledgement that you hit a big goal?
It was the acknowledgement of my accomplishments. It made me feel like I hit this milestone, and like it was such a big deal to start my own business when I was 50 whatever. And the idea, when I started my coaching business, I wasn't even thinking I want to make 6 figures. I didn't even know that was like a thing, you know? And then all of a sudden I had this business. I was making more money than I ever made in my life, even when I owned the yoga studio. The bracelet felt like a milestone. It feels like this symbol for me when I wear it still. Like I love it. Like I'm Lux. Like, and this is also who I am, right? Like I like nice things and I don't want to hide it. And I don't really care. Like I know plenty of people who would never spend $8,000 on a bracelet.
They're
I
not
know
your
people
customer.
who wouldn't spend $500 to go out for dinner like my husband and I do. I think that it also it's very representative of just, I like fine things. I love beautiful things. I'm also very simple and classic. So I'm not the person you're ever going to see in like a chunky jewelry thing. I don't buy a lot of costume jewelry. I don't buy a lot. I buy very, very specific, simple, classic
You're a collector.
things. Yeah, but the point is that like it feels emotionally connected to
Yeah.
me. For me, I love it. I love wearing it. I feel like it's part of my brand. I love everything about it. to this minute, I can tell you it's still one of the best things I ever bought for myself.
I love
And it's
that.
just a freaking bracelet.
Yes. So, and it's an interesting thing to say because even, we have this program laying the foundation, and one of the things that we support people in is really getting into like basically creating what I call a viable business, in the sense
Yeah.
that on the other end of it, you're going to be making consistent sales. You're going to be literally crushing it. I think the thing that gets into a lot of people's heads, especially if you're not showing them along the way, is like, oh, wow, this is a $2,000 investment. I can't
Exactly.
afford it. And the thing that always is crazy to me is, how can you not afford it? You're sitting here like scraping by. You can't even figure out how to get someone to buy one of your regular pieces on your website. And
Yeah.
you need help to be able to figure that out. How is anything going to change if you don't change? Which
Yeah.
I think is a big thing.
It's a huge thing. And, and I'm over here in the business of helping people who are trying to literally sell transformation, right? So my clients are not product based businesses, right? Like my clients are service based business owners, mostly people who are trying to sell transformation. And they don't know how to sell it because they don't know how to talk about it, and they don't know they don't know how to actually have the right messaging. And this really goes to the sort of the foundation, which is, what is transformation?
Yeah,
Because you actually
what's
have to
your definition
really,
of it?
yeah, I mean, you actually have to know that human beings, human brains, right, are not designed for change. They don't like it. Human brains don't like to
No,
change,
they don't.
right? They hate it, actually. And so, what is transformation? Transformation is when something changes, evolves, shifts, like up levels, whatever you want to call it. And our brains are not wired for that. Our brains are actually still very primitive and very much still the brains that are designed to keep you alive. That's essentially your brain's job. If you were to say to your brain, what's your job? Your brain would be like, to make sure you're alive, right? Like,
Yep.
at all costs. And your brain is not designed to keep you out of suffering. As a matter of fact, why do we think so many people will stay in pain and suffering for so long without doing anything about it? It's because their brain is like, listen, I know you're not thrilled, but you're alive, and that's all that matters. So let's not do anything different. Let's not disrupt the status quo. Let's not mess with anything that's working. And when your brain thinks something's working, what it means is that you're literally alive. And so the 1% or the very small percent of people in the population that actually recognize that they're not really here to stay the same or to suffer or to just sort of have the status quo, those people are people that recognize that they have to step outside of their comfort zone, and they actually have to up level. I call it upgrading the operating system. You actually have to be willing to take your brain off of its default settings and actually raise the vibration of how you're operating in the world. So anyone who's a coach, or like someone who says that what they help other people to do is get better at something, to succeed at something, to, to change their habits, to be healthier, to have a better life, to have better relationships, to be able to use their talent and their genius better. Anyone who says that's what they're doing, what you're really doing is you're saying, I'm willing to take on the job of helping somebody literally change their brain. And then here's the kicker. You have to help the person change their brain before they're even working with you, because you have to help them change their brain in order for them to even say yes to something that's transformational, because their brain is automatically objecting to transformation because it's uncomfortable, it's the unknown, and
Wow.
it's stepping into something that there's no guarantee. And so in sales, we have this double job. We actually have to create transformation for someone in order for them to even say yes to investing in their own transformation.
Right. Exactly. It's interesting. So, what do you think it is when someone comes and they're literally reaching out to you for help?
Yeah.
Get them all the way there,
Yeah.
and then they're like,
Yep. So when you're the expert, you actually have to know in that moment that when somebody gets to that point and then they go, like you just said, right? The first reaction of somebody who's not operating from their own zone of genius is that they're going to immediately go into their own fear and scarcity and go, oh no, an objection. And they're going to go, okay, well, okay, I lost the sale. The person can't afford it. And they're going to go running in the other direction. And what I teach my clients is I say, in that moment, you've got to be ready to take another step in and be the coach in that moment. And you've got to be willing to stay in the conversation and say, hey, talk to me, tell me what just came up for you. Now, I do teach how to make offers in a very specific way where you don't share the investment until you've gotten a series of affirmations and yeses from somebody. So by the time you say the investment, you know if that's truly the only objection or not. And if it is the only objection and it's the money, then your job is now to continue coaching and say, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how this investment is going to impact you, or what, do you know what I mean? Like, you have to keep the conversation going. But if you didn't make your offer where you're sharing what I call the 4 pillars of value first, then you're going to be stuck in that mindset that you're going to go around the world thinking, or walk around thinking, no one can afford my services, or no one can afford my product, or I'm too expensive. And you're going to have a story that you are building in your head about your own offer and your own product. And that's really bad, because that's going to sabotage you from offering your thing.
So tell us what the 4 pillars of value are.
So the 4 pillars of value are always, number 1, the transformation that the other person is going to receive or have on the other end. The second pillar is your unique. And now when you're offering a service-based thing, it's your unique, I call it your signature transformational system. I know you call it your genius model.
Genius
is
model.
that what?
Yeah, like your genius.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, genius model. So that's the second pillar. It's like it's your unique way that you do your thing that no one else does, right? Then the third value pillar is time and energy. So, does your offer, or does your product, or does your thing, how does that impact your clients in terms of their time and energy? Because our 3 most valuable resources that we have as human beings are our time, our energy, and our money. Like, that's it. Like, those are your 3 commodities that you've got to play with, right? Everything in life requires some version of time, energy, and money. Everything. So some things don't cost money, but they do cost time and energy.
Right.
And some things cost money so that you can save time and energy, right? So being able to talk about pillar 3, time and energy, and pillar 4, money. Always being able to reference the value of your offer and discuss with your client, or when you're making your offer, you're always addressing time, energy, and money, because those are your clients' or customers' 3 most valuable commodities. And so when you're sharing the value of your offer, your job is to be able to address those 3 things so that, like, they are already hearing from you, what is this going to do for me? Like, how is this going to either save me time, make more time,
Right.
make me feel that my time is, make me feel like, even like with jewelry, I'll say, because it's not my area of expertise other than as a customer, but is there a way that you're telling your client that their time and energy is going to be positively impacted in some way by owning this thing, or wearing this thing, or having this thing? And then always being able to reference something money related. Now, obviously, because I specialize in helping service-based businesses, there's always a way for us to position, even if you're not a business coach, there's always a way for us to look at your offer and what you do. And I'm always able to help you go, for your ideal client, they're going to save money by working with you, or they're going to make money by working with you, or their money is going to go further by working with, like, there's some way that we can always talk about the value of the investment and how it's actually in the favor of the client.
Right. Exactly. So this is so great. So When someone is feeling a little bit stuck on what their transformation is, what are the first steps to help communicate that? I mean, I know it's through these 4 pillars in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, obviously, but where do you have them start?
I always have them start from, it's 2 angles. It's first of all, why did you decide to do what you do? Because we all have a reason, a mission, a purpose when we decide to have a business or to create an offer or to provide a service. It's coming from somewhere. And when people think that like your niche or your unique work is something that you have to like rack your brain to figure out, I'm always like, you're in the wrong direction, because nobody starts a business that doesn't have this like passionate feeling of like why they want to do it. So to begin with, the transformation starts with like, well, why do you want to do this? Like, what is it that you want to help people with? So that's first of all. But then the other angle is, what are your ideal clients looking for and what do they really want? And I think that, like, especially in the coaching industry, there's a lot of coachy language out there that we
Trailblazer?
fall in. What?
Trailblazer?
Yeah, well, or no, even like, well, my clients want self-love. They want freedom. They want, they want this. And I'm like, do
That's
they
not
though? Like,
specific.
is that what they're waking up
They're
and
not thinking like, I
saying?
want freedom. They're not.
Exactly.
They're
When they wake up
thinking,
in the morning, are they actually going like, God, if only I loved myself more? They're not thinking that. And so, the way that we really have to articulate the transformation is we have to be able to really get down to the heart and in the real language, in the real life scenarios of our ideal clients. And we have to go, what are they really saying that they wish they had, or that they wish they could change, or that if only, right? I always say like one of the best phrases to use when you're thinking about your ideal client is, what would they say? How would they fill in? If only, what would they say? Like, what would they actually say?
That's a great statement. If only.
Yeah, if
Only
only.
when my feet hit the floor, the
Exactly.
sweet sound of my Shopify store was dinging off.
Yeah. I mean, if only I had a steady stream of clients coming in and I didn't feel like every day was was like an uphill battle, right? And then you at least know what they really want. Now, and so now you can speak to that. You can say, oh, wow, like that's what you want. Okay, amazing. Well, in order for you to have that, I think this is really like who you need to become. That's first of all, because that's the transformation, right? The transformation is always not just what do you need to be doing. It can't be just strategy, because if somebody was able to execute on the strategy alone, they'd already be fucking doing it. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here. Okay, right? But in order for them to execute on the doing and the strategy, and this is for everyone, our clients that we're helping with their businesses, as well as their clients that they're just trying to sell something to, even if they're not a business coach, you have to remember that in order for anyone to do something different or have something different, they have to recognize that they're going to have to be different, period. And that's transformation. That is transformation. It's being different so that you can do something different, so that you can have something different. So knowing what that is for your clients, right? Because it's different for everyone. Like, business owner needs to have a different identity shift or transformational shift than busy mom who just wants to freaking get through the day and also not feel like she ate chicken fingers and M&Ms for dinner and goes to bed at night feeling like crap. Like that, she needs a different transformational shift than the solopreneur who's waking up every day and getting distracted by shiny object syndrome and thinking that the solution to their whole business is one social media post that someone said, I'm going to tell you exactly what to say and your business is going to blow up, right? Like, that's a different transformation than for that mom. And we have to know that about our ideal clients.
This has been so powerful, Stacey. So if you were to walk away with like one actionable tip or takeaway, what would you want to share with the audience?
I want to share with the audience to really not be afraid to go back to what may feel really, really unsexy or unfancy when it comes to messaging and marketing and offers, and to really, really go back and ask yourself, what is it that you really do? Like, what do you really want to do? Like, what is the reason you started this in the first place? What did you think you were here to help people do in a specific way? Not in a big broad way, but in a specific way. That's first of all. And then second of all, stop trying to come up with the most fancy I help statement or find all these convoluted words, like, so that you feel like you're covering all your bases, and instead do the unsexy thing and just sit and think to yourself, what is my client literally waking up in the morning and dreading or having anxiety about? Like, specifically, like, what today do they feel like they wish that they could have different? Not like in 5 years, not like down the road, not in this like huge big picture outcome, like when they finally, X, Y, and Z, they're going to be living the life. Nobody's investing in that. They're investing in, Jesus, I just need to get through today. Well, and where can we find ourselves anymore, right? Well, first of all, my podcast, which you've been on, Tracy. So I'm so excited that now I'm here with you, Passionate and Prosperous with Stacey Brass-Russell. So that's my podcast for creatives and coaches and service-based people, I say, right? Because you may not even identify as a business owner yet, but how do you get to turn your passion into something and make money doing it? So that's my podcast. And then obviously on all the socials, I'm just my name, Stacey Brass-Russell. And as we talked about before, when I found out what you wanted to talk about today, I think what I'm going to do is turn some of the 4 pillars of value. I think I'm going to turn that into something that everyone can download to just help them break down and understand their offer and what they're selling.
Okay, awesome. So we'll post that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Stacey, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. And, you gave me the opportunity to talk about what I'm the most passionate about. So thank you.
Amazing. If this episode has opened your eyes into what customers are actually buying, well, you are in luck because Stacey has a free download. Make sure that you check it in the show notes. Make sure that you also connect with both of us on social media. I'm going to have some very important links and things that you can connect with in the show notes that are related to this episode, including my Desire AI tool, which is an AI marketing tool for jewelry business owners who want to create transformation in their marketing so that you're selling the transformation and not just the physical product. And then also, I'm going to have a link to the Art of Reinvention program. So if you're someone who is in that shift of, wanting to know what's next or being able to communicate what you're selling better, we are here for it. And thanks so much for listening to the show today. Also, make sure that you go check out Stacey's podcast, Passionate and Prosperous. It's an incredible podcast. I was on it too. All right. Ciao for now. Thanks for listening.